Can babies have temper tantrums? So let's look at the facts. If you think about a baby and say that they talk using crying because they don't have any other means of communication. Well, they do move their arms, they flail and stuff. But so think about it. So we speak, and we have different words we speak. Some people curse, some people speak angrily, right? There's different tones. If you listen to a baby cry, you guys sometimes they're angrier or sometimes they're less. Sometimes it's higher pitched, sometimes it's louder, sometimes it's not. So if you're going to presume that babies don't know how to cry, that's one thing. But I think most of us understand babies cry differently at different times and most likely for different reasons, right? And if you think about it, so if you have a 25-year-old who's sort of flailing their arms, you're like, that's sort of strange. Are they having a seizure? Right? But if you go down a bit to a 5-year-old or even a 10-year-old, they're having a temper tantrum, right? So when my daughter's there in bed screaming and flailing her arms around, I feel she's having a temper tantrum. I don't see why you have to presume that she's not, that she's just crying, right? If crying means something, if crying is different, if crying can be communicative, then she is having a temper tantrum. By definition, she is upset. Now, people say things like, oh, but they're crying because they're hungry. Well, that could be true. Let's say it's true. It doesn't mean they're not upset. Those are two separate things, right? I could be hungry and I could be upset. I could be hungry and I could be not upset, right? I mean, naturally, if we're hungry, we're going to be upset. Hangry, that's where the word comes from. So the thing is, babies can have temper tantrums. And I think that's one thing that's sort of important and key to think about. You think about babies as not having bad feelings, impugning your reputation, blah, blah, blah. Like parents saying, oh, she's going to cry and ruin our dinner. So no, they don't have those intentions. They don't have sort of complicated thought processes. But they could still be upset. That's a very natural, basic feeling, right? Like hunger is. And so I think that sort of changes the way I view things. Because somebody said that sleep training is behavioral changing. She's sitting there crying. She's resting comfortably, and then you put her down, and all of a sudden she's unhappy, right? I mean, she was in a similar position before, nothing really has changed. Except that she's now on a bed. It's cold, it's not warm, right? I guess it's soft, but not as soft as somebody holding her. She doesn't like it, and she's going to express her displeasure. But if you think about just growing up, if you let this cycle continue, they're going to keep expressing their displeasure, and then all of a sudden they're going to be a 10-year-old expressing their displeasure, right? I mean, as adults, we learn that there are certain ways you can express your displeasure and certain ways we're not supposed to express our displeasure. As a baby, they have sort of one mechanism. They know how to say words, so they vary their pitch, they vary the loudness of the cry, and they sort of move their arms back and forth, showing that they're frustrated, they're upset. But at the end of the day, it's just a temper tantrum. And you have to deal with it to let it pass. Otherwise, you'll never train them.